I would like to make a proposal regarding taxes. I think this is a subject that every American can find solidarity about. The taxes are ridiculous. That's without saying, understanding. But the broad scope of it is so wrong. It's got to be stopped. The people have to stop this. It's not something that you can ask your congressman to get before the floor and make a statement about. This is something that the people have got to rise up and just demand. A good friend of mine today gave me a very clear example of why this is all just such an assault on all of us. Because the money is what it's all about. All of this, any of these things that I go on and on about, or I talk about the disinfo people or the government, it comes down to the money flow that comes into the government. Straight from people who are just working and they have their time just stolen from them by necessity. Why? The sole reason they live like this? So very, very wealthy people can keep getting wealthy. The money that goes straight to them. This myth, this charade that the taxes go to municipalities and the roads and the maintenance of the country is just ludicrous. It goes to private financial shareholders in the Federal Reserve and the banks, primarily. The money that goes to municipalities and taking care of things is the funny money that's given to them by the Federal Reserve. The other money goes to the military-industrial complex that just spends the crazy amounts of money on their initiatives in the places they are blowing up and destroying. And just experimenting on very expensive things, whether it's NASA or Lockheed Martin with planes and tanks and the newest drones. And the idea that we pay for that is just so... No. We work too hard to be involved in any of that. We are going to pay for the drones that are the mosquito drones that are going to fly on our arms and inject RFID chips in us and take DNA samples of our blood and fly back. We pay for this? Well, a friend of mine told me about her situation with property tax. It was $1,500 a year anyway for her house. Her house is paid for. And they just suddenly doubled it. No warning, just like my jacket, but it just has a mind of its own. She just, she has this horrible dilemma of being 70 years old, living in a house that she's already paid for, which she worked to pay for her whole life, and the property tax is killing her, because she's 70 years old and she's on Social Security. She makes $9,000 a year, something like that. And now she has to pay $3,500 in property tax for her house. That's asinine. You drive down any street, think of all the roads you've driven on and all the buildings you've passed, whoever you are. Every building you can look at has a gigantic tax, for property tax that goes to the government. Not to mention income tax, capital gains tax, all these things, and your IRAs. Even, people have their retirement accounts. They're like, oh, we won't tax it until you need it. So when you're retired and you've made all this money or lost all this money in your IRA, the government wants half of it. Half. Tax reform has got to start with abolishing the IRS and establishing the Federal Treasury as the central bank of the country instead of the Federal Reserve. But then tax should just be a single tax that goes to the government. I'm not against the government having some money from us, but it's got to be in proportion to what's right opposed to what's wrong. We should have the right to repeal our taxes and hold them accountable if they are misusing them. We have a right to know what they're using the money for. And we should not have a single cent go to a private investor in Europe. Asinine. Just the reason they got away with it is because they really pushed for it and established it as a necessity, like income tax, in the minds of people in the most frightening, ill-informed time of American history, like the periods of World War I and II. All of a sudden in 1960, everybody wakes up and it's like, wait a minute. And then everyone got so used to it with sales tax and just excise taxes. Now they're doing the carbon tax, and now they're forcing us to pay for health insurance. All this forced money out of everybody in the country. There's documentaries about bank robbers like Jesse James. That guy robbed 4 banks. Made off with what? Nothing. The government robs every house in the country. Every person in the country that has any decent amount of savings or income. The government gets half of it, if not 60%. The wealthy get to bribe the government in having their taxes lowered, but the middle class, the people that got something really going on, a family, they got to give 60%, just in income tax. Not to mention the property tax, not to mention all the other taxes. So really, you could what this fucking collar touching me? You could say that 70 or 80% of your money goes to them. And the rest of it goes to bills, and whatever you have left over goes to your kids' toys or something. No, we deserve to have our money. The government should not get more than 20% of anybody in the country. Pull the troops home. Make this country, concentrate on this country instead of other countries. No alms money, gift money to any other country. No $9 billion to Israel. No $4 billion to Egypt. Nothing like that. They don't deserve it. We have nothing in common with those people. Have those countries figure out how to maintain themselves or lose their ass. Whatever. They don't let people live in houses that they can't pay for. Israel just gets to be Israel because we give them tanks, planes, and money. Carte blanche. No. We deserve to have our money. We worked hard for it. And I can't imagine why anybody in the country who isn't in on the crime wouldn't agree with this. Tax reform has got to be abolishing the IRS, Federal Reserve, the U.S. Treasury, the central bank, and have them kind of like as a census, have a decent idea about what everybody makes, but they don't have to have their hands and their eyes in all of our personal business. If a waiter or waitress makes a ton in cash tips, so what? Don't bother or hassle them about declaring them on their taxes. Go to hell. If somebody's waiting tables, they got a hard life, and they're doing something they would rather not do, trust me, even if they're good at it. He says, no. The country's got enough millionaires and billionaires to take care of the high end of it. The military should be only for defense of the country, not proactive invasions. Well, you all know that. But taxes is bogus. People just got to unify in great amounts of numbers. No capital gains tax, no property tax. It's asinine that you can buy your house and have it paid for, and then possibly have it taken away because you can't afford the property tax, like my friend. She's a wonderful woman. She's 70 years old. And she's afraid of being homeless because the federal government will confiscate her property. Because she can't pay the property tax. Because it is 30% of her income for the year. I mean, close to, 40%. People like this just sit back and take it. They got to find the other people that are suffering from this phenomenon. We got to get a group and make it grow. A national group that says no to this. Soon.